This is Kilo, and I want to make this video to answer a question that comes in all the time, and that is, should I replace or rekey my locks? What is the difference? What is the difference in pricing? What would you recommend? So, as a locksmith, I don't want to sound like I'm pushing one or the other, and I don't want you guys to feel like I am swaying you one way or the other. I just want to give you guys an honest answer to these questions. So, to explain the difference, replacing a lock is removing the original lock and replacing it with a brand new lock set. Rekeying, in the simplest form that I can explain this, let's say that you have a roommate and they leave on bad terms and they keep their key. You can call a locksmith to come rekey your locks. They would come out, remove your existing lock, change the inner workings to where your roommate's key no longer works. They would give you a new key that works the whole home. That is basically the simplest way that I can explain rekeying in layman's terms. So oftentimes rekeying is the most cost-effective option, as replacing requires buying new locks that are usually very expensive. So if you have functioning locks that there's nothing wrong with them, you could just rekey them if you so choose. So I'm going to show you guys some reasons why you might consider replacing. So these are the four main reasons that I have ended up as a locksmith replacing locks. Sometimes people buy a home and it's an older home and it has older vintage antique locks and they don't like the look of it. They want to update it and look more modern. That is a big reason. They want to upgrade their locks to something more sleek. Broken locks would be the most obvious reason. Color is a big reason why I end up replacing a lot of locks. A lot of times, same reason for, this one being an old vintage lock. Sometimes they're, a brass color and they want to paint their door and they want a dark bronze lock. They don't want this clashing brass color. So it's a valid reason. If you want your house to look good, you want a lock to make your door look good. That's a good reason to replace it. Upgrading. Again, it could be upgrading from these old antique locks. It could be upgrading from, a common Defiant to to an electronic deadbolt. It could be upgrading to a high security lock, to a smart lock, whatever, the case may be. So these are the four main reasons to replace locks. Now, some reasons to consider rekeying. A lot of times the lock sets on your door, they might be pretty expensive. So maybe you have, $100 lock set on your front door, and then you have $100 lock set on your back door. So if you want to replace those, that's $200. Now, maybe, if it's a, $100 lock set, you could call a locksmith and ask their fees, and you're probably going to get this price range, somewhere between $8 and $15 per cylinder. When I say per cylinder, I am talking about per keyway. As some customers, they'll call and they'll say, I have a doorknob and a deadbolt, but it'll be double-sided. If there are two keyways, so a keyway on the outside and the inside, that counts as 2 cylinders. So just as a heads up. So when they say cylinder, it basically means every keyway. A more realistic price range to think about is you're probably going to get quoted $10 to $12 per cylinder. That seems to be more common. So where you're looking at, maybe you don't want to go replace your $100 set, a locksmith will say, let's just say in the middle, $10 per lock. So you have 2 lock sets. So 4, locks in general, that would be $40 to rekey them versus $200 to replace them. Now you do have to factor in that a locksmith will have a service charge or a trip fee. This is normally going to be realistically about $65 to $85. So you got to add that into the price. So let's say it's $65 plus, the $40 to rekey, you're looking at $105. still a lot cheaper than $200 to replace two lock sets. Now, sometimes if they're, fancy sets, you might only get them, if you want to replace them, one set at a time. They might not be all keyed alike. So you could end up buying two new sets and still needing to get one rekeyed to match this one. So those are some reasons to think about. Um, if you just want to replace, sometimes rekeying might not be, the cost effective option if all you have is a front door and it's got quick sets, just common quick set locks on it, and you want to go replace them with the $25 locks at the hardware store. Obviously, $25 at the hardware store is cheaper than a trip fee and the rekey charge. If you have a lot of locks, that's where rekeying becomes, pretty much the favorite option. Um, Most locks can be rekeyed, not all of them can. Many padlocks can. People think that all padlocks can't. There are many that can be rekeyed. It all depends on which one it is, the model, and different things locksmiths can tell you. And just to let you guys know, a lot of locks can be rekeyed. So many people think that their mailbox locks can't be rekeyed. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they actually can. So you could bring in your locks to a lock shop, avoid, the trip charge, and just you're probably going to get quoted $10 to $15 per cylinder in the shop. So you could save yourself some money by doing that as well. Just taking the locks off, taking them into the shop and saying, hey, can you key these up? I got someone at the house waiting because I have no locks on my home and I just need these keyed up. You're looking at about $10 to $15 a lock or per cylinder. So I just wanted to share this with you guys as this is a question that is asked a lot. This is probably one of the most asked questions locksmiths get. So hopefully this was helpful. If you guys are new to the channel and you'd like to learn more about locksmithing, feel free to subscribe. As always, I hope you guys are staying safe and I hope you guys have a nice day.